All right, let's break it down a little bit further. SEC expert Barrett Sallee is with us, along with Sportsline's Emory Hunt. Matt Corral, one of the favorites to win the Heisman Trophy. Now, Barrett, is this setting up a little bit similar to what we saw 9 years ago? Johnny Manziel, I know that game was later in the season against Alabama, but really clinched the trophy with that great game against Bama.
Yeah, I mean, I think Matt Corral's Heisman moment, if it does end up happening, absolutely could and probably should happen in this game, considering the visibility that is on it. Now, it would take Ole Miss winning, which obviously is easier said than done. But you look at what kind of quarterback Matt Corral is. Gunslinger, can sling it all over the field, and he's also a runner. Now, he's not Johnny Manziel, but the offense does lend itself to a little bit more of Matt Corral running the football. So, yeah, I think if Matt Corral is going to win the Heisman Trophy, and he is the front runner right now, according to the boys out at Caesar Sportsbook, then yeah, he needs a big performance against this Alabama team. I think right now we know what we're getting from Ole Miss's offense, so it wouldn't be surprising to me to see Matt Corral light it up on the stat sheet.
Emory, what do you think of those numbers with Corral and Bryce Young, the co-favorites at plus 180 right now?
You know, it's a wide open field. I mean, you can't really think about one guy that you can say, oh man, that's clear cut the Heisman favorite. So I would expect this to change all throughout the rest of the season because we just hadn't had that one standout player on offense that we normally see. So Barrett's right. If Matt Corral is going to have his Heisman moment and win this game, he can definitely further outpace everyone that's behind him because, again, you beat the big dog on the block. You have a big game against Alabama. Everyone will be singing your praises, and we know this offense will continue to score the rest of the way so he can continue to stockpile Heisman votes if he's able to get it done against Bama.
We asked Emory and Barrett to come up with a player to watch on each side, and beginning with Alabama. Emory, you're going to start with a guy who's going to try to get to Matt Corral. Who's that?
Darian Mathis is one outstanding defensive lineman. This is somebody that does a great job in just destroying any type of blocking assignment that you're trying to throw at him in his way. And if Ole Miss wants to try to be creative in how they run the football with the zone read and a lot of influence plays, getting those guys to go each and every opposite direction, then someone like Mathis is going to have a huge day. He can be dominant up front. If he's dominant up front against the spread offense, it gives Alabama an excellent opportunity to win the game.
Yeah, I'm going to go with one step back, at least in terms of the defense. I'm going to go with Henry To'o, the linebacker transfer from Tennessee, the team's leading tackler, despite getting banged up a little bit against Miami and then obviously getting pulled due to mop-up duty for the second team last week against Southern Miss. But you look at what Ole Miss does. Yeah, you know, we all talk about how great of a passer Matt Corral is and how Lane Kiffin likes to throw it all over the place. But in his heart, at his core, Lane Kiffin is a running coach. He wants to establish the run. And at LSU, or at Ole Miss, I should say, he does it in a very creative way. He's got plenty of running backs led by Jerry and Ely. Matt Corral is more than a willing runner. We saw that against Tulane. So I think it's on Henry To'o to sort of be the quarterback of that defense. Make sure they line up properly because we know Lane Kiffin likes to go warp speed. You're talking about snaps at 8 or 9 seconds down from the 40-second clock, from the shot clock. So he likes to crank up that tempo. So it's going to be on Henry To'o and the rest of those Alabama linebackers to slow down the run, not get confused by that eye candy, and make sure they line up properly because if they don't, then you're going to see a lot of big plays from this Rebels offense.
Barrett, that takes us right into your player to watch on the Ole Miss side. It's easy to take, you know, the quarterbacks in this game who are the Heisman favorites at this point, but we're thinking a little bit deeper here, and you've been talking about that run game, so who's the running back you're looking for?
Yeah, it's Jerry and Ely. This kid is so versatile. He can get the ball in a variety of different ways. He's big enough to run between the tackles, but quick enough and fast enough to be a home run hitter in space. And also, he will make an impact on special teams if Nick Saban's not careful. So Jerry and Ely, to me, he's so versatile. He can really set the tone against this Alabama defense. I know we all like to talk about Matt Corral, but this kid can get the ball in a variety of different ways, and not only on the ground, but if Matt Corral can hit him on those short and intermediate passes out of the backfield as a receiver, those Alabama safeties are going to have to start to creep up, and that's going to open up the field deep for Matt Corral to take the top off this defense. So give me Jerry and Ely as probably one of, if not the most important pieces and most important players of this game.
I'm glad Barrett brought up setting the tone because that's why Lakia Henry is the guy I'm watching in this game for Ole Miss. I feel like he does that for these guys at the second level. He's a thumper. He's someone that's going to lay the wood, an impact player at the second level. And Bama right now, I think, is a bit one-dimensional in their approach. I'm not as high on their run game. If he can come in early in this contest and make one of those impactful hits to get everybody jacked up and juiced, they have a chance to really be special. I think that's where Ole Miss's opportunity has been this season. Defensively, they've been much better than what we've seen. Granted, it's not Alabama that they faced the previous 4 weeks or 3 weeks, but we'll find out how good that defense is. But I like what I'm seeing, and Lakia Henry is someone that can set the tone early defensively for the Rebels.
Well, you'd think somebody's going to have to make a defensive play to win this game, but in order to hit the over on the total, we're going to need 80 points in this game. Barrett, they did score over 100 combined last year, though.
Yeah, I'll take that over. And for a couple of reasons. One, this is what Alabama's DNA is, and Ole Miss, obviously, under Lane Kiffin. They're both offensively driven teams. It's the strength for both. And then on top of that, you look at Alabama's weakness offensively. They haven't been able to run the football all that well. And granted, Ole Miss's defense typically has been a disaster, but it really hasn't been this year. So I think Alabama's going to play to its strength. It's going to try to open things up. And in that regard, you're going to see a shootout. Matt Corral versus Bryce Young. And I can't wait to see what happens. And to think about this, if you were to tell me that a Nick Saban coach team would have the highest over-under total in a game in 4 years, if you'd have told me that a decade ago, I'd have called you crazy. But that's the DNA of both of these teams, so take the over.
Yeah, I'm going to take the under here. I think we'll see good defense from Ole Miss. And if you'd have told me a decade ago that Nick Saban's defense was a question mark and he can't run the football, I think you talk about someone that's coaching at maybe Alabama A&I or somewhere like that, right? But this is funny to watch this matchup between Saban and Kiffin. Kiffin is the only guy in America that can get under Coach Saban's skin. And he did it last year with that tempo, got Alabama out of their sorts early on before they started to regain control. And that's what we got last year in terms of an outcome. But I feel like this is going to be a little bit more closer to the vest. So we'll see that number go under. Maybe it'll flirt with the over, but we'll see that go under.
111 points last year combined between these two teams in a hotly contested game. That one was in the state of Mississippi. All right, 14.5 is the number here. It's a shorter number than the one over in Athens, Georgia, where Arkansas goes in as the number 8 team in the country, and they're getting 18 on the road at Georgia. So I feel like there's a little bit of respect here, a little bit, for Ole Miss only getting 14.5. And it sounds crazy to say, but Barrett, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I'll take Ole Miss. I'll grab those points. If I can win a bet with 2 touchdowns with a Lane Kiffin offense 100 times out of 100, I'll take it, even against a program like Alabama. Look, I think they're going to have the ball in the fourth quarter with a chance to tie or win. I think they're going to, like you said, Lane Kiffin's going to get under Nick Saban's skin. He's going to crank up that tempo, and you're going to see some coverage bust. Even though Alabama's extremely talented, they're not going to be able to handle this. And look, Ole Miss had a bye week against the week leading up to Alabama. Lane Kiffin is going to have all sorts of aces up his sleeve. So I'll take Ole Miss. I think they cover. I think Alabama gets the job done in the end. But this is going to be a 4-quarter battle.
Yeah, I'm taking Ole Miss in the points. Maybe Vegas feels as though those powder blue uniforms are worth 4.5 instead of what they give in Arkansas out there against Georgia. But I like Ole Miss's offense, and I like the fact that they're actually playing defense this year. I think that's going to be the key in this ball game. This will be a lot closer than people think. I would even sprinkle something on the money line if we're talking Ole Miss here, because Alabama, to be honest, if they can't run the football, they're in trouble, and that's going to be a big issue in this game. I don't think they're going to be able to run the football, so it's going to be a Bryce Young versus Matt Corral type game, but Ole Miss can run it if they want to, and I think they can. So I'm taking Ole Miss in the points here.
A sprinkle on the money line for Emory Hunt. Alabama at home giving 14.5 to Ole Miss in what I think would be the biggest win of Lane Kiffin's career if he's able to pull this off. Barrett, Emory, thank you so much for the time. Let's recap the picks from the fellas. They both like Ole Miss to cover the number, and as I mentioned, Emory said maybe a money line sprinkle. And the play on the total, they're on opposite sides here. Emory thinks there's going to be a little bit more defense played. Barrett going over. Again, last season, 111 combined points between these two teams. Cover 3 podcasts, keeping you current on all things college football. Download and follow today. A huge week, especially in the SEC, with not only our SEC game of the week, but Arkansas going on the road to face Georgia. Our game on CBS kicks off at 3:30 Eastern Time. You can also stream it live on Paramount Plus. Number 12, Ole Miss. Number 1, Alabama. Both teams unbeaten.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.